Brilliant, thank you very much. And last but not least, again, we've a question for Dom. So we've heard about leadership, we've heard about data, and particularly as you spoke about you being about all about the action and especially leading on the front line. And you've had sort of about 20 odd years about leading an incredible organization where apprenticeships are embedded. So my question too is, how should leaders view apprenticeships in addressing both diversity and social mobility? And if there was something about the investing in talent side of it, that'd be fantastic to hear from yourself on.
Yep, sure. So, I mean, any leader, whether it's someone who's recruiting in an HR department for a massive organization, or if, like me, you just run a small business and you are the HR department, I think the key thing is that looking at apprenticeships as an opportunity to help you in terms of your recruitment process. I mean, it's really easy to see diversity, inclusion, access as a problem, when actually it's actually a way of helping you reach out to the best possible applicants that you can get in any given situation. And I think it's also a very complex thing to look at, and what Melanie was just saying about looking at statistics and looking at representation. Just as an example, in my locality where my office is based, the current most marginalised and most underrepresented individual ethnic group is white. So you do have to do your research, you do have to look around, and you have to say, if I'm really talking about inclusion, I'm talking about social mobility, and I'm talking about access, BAME is not this tick box that is going to solve all of your problems. It's not a lazy way of reaching those poor, underprivileged people. That's not what BAME is about. There's two separate issues which can sometimes be conflated due to areas of deprivation, sometimes being in parallel with areas of high diversity. They are two separate things. Now, for social mobility, apprenticeships are just amazing. Whatever cultural background, geographic area you live in, they're a great way that you can make an access point a leveler and an equal access point. And again, just to flag, during sort of the post-COVID sort of era, at the moment, there is particular leniency around things. For example, I always had problems recruiting the right person onto an apprenticeship initially because they had to have level 2 maths and English. Now, most people that want to work for me, I don't care if they've got level maths 2 or English. It's irrelevant. It's about creativity and initiative, hardworking and committed. Now, that's being looked at again post-COVID to make sure that in terms of social mobility, if I can have someone who hasn't got a level 2 and for whatever reason the school system has failed them, then I can work with a training provider to try and get them that basic, so that even if my sector isn't the right sector, we're building up the workforce, which hopefully will, help the picture for me later down the line when I'm recruiting again. So there's something about social mobility and access that apprenticeships offer, that, in terms of finance as well, a lot of the people that we look to recruit from, quite often, if you are in a stable family and your family have been to university, then it's going to be quite easy for you to think about going to university and to be less concerned with issues around debt and moving away from home and increased costs. If that's not your upbringing, then you are going to miss out on those kinds of candidates. So those kinds of candidates that aren't going to move away from home, that aren't going to go to university because of fear, they possibly have a whole skill set that your business desperately needs, which is based around life experience, around different understandings of the way that we work, and you're missing out on all of those, whereas an apprenticeship can give you an access point to those people that are not choosing those options because that's not what they're used to, that's not where they've been brought up, and that's not in their sort of sphere of opportunities. To go back to the sort of Black, Asian, minority, ethnic, kind of looking at how that can increase access for you and as a leader why it's important, I think it is about looking at how you can create the best products, the best services, and the best sort of offer to the marketplace, whatever marketplace you're operating in. I think the really interesting thing right now is when you look at things that happened in the last few years, like Black Panther, like really key moments when people realized that cultural diversity brings money, and they suddenly went, oh wait, there's a market out there. Now, when you say BAME, it sounds like one homogenous group. It's not. It's a diverse range of a multitude of different people from different backgrounds that are potentially underrepresented in any given organization. Each one of those people comes with a unique perspective. Purely, on one level, that they're going to bring a different perspective from another person who has a different cultural background from them. As a very basic understanding of why that's important to your business, don't underestimate that. we're always looking for someone creative, innovative. You know, the world's full of hipsters and kind of, you know, really cool people. No one seems to look around and go, do you know what? Look for the person that doesn't look like anyone else in your team as a basic, and then start from there. Then, are they the right person? Do they have the skills? Do they have? But if everyone in your team looks and sounds the same, their parents did the same kinds of jobs, they come from the same kinds of areas, they've been to the same kinds of schools, then you are going to not be able to compete in the marketplace, and you're going to have a massive problem.
And especially in a time, an era that we're living in right now, where we've got you know, potential talent pool of people who have been entering the labour market right now. I think what you're saying was quite important. So yeah, thank you so much to all our speakers so far. Really appreciate what you're sharing your thoughts. I want to sort of move on to audience questions. So if possible, if any audience members want to type in their questions into the chat box, that'd be fantastic, and then I can read them out to the. We've had one so far. So it goes, how can we better engage with? And I think this is probably aimed at Dominique. We've got, how can we better engage parents and early careers to better position apprenticeships in the mind of future generations during their more informative years?
Yeah, I think this is a lot of employers have found when they first start trying to recruit apprentices, the very people that they want don't really understand what an apprenticeship is. They don't, maybe their families have never been involved in apprenticeships before, so then you get the same challenge as the whole university problem. It might even be the reverse, where the aspiration quite a lot of the time is for those that are trying to increase social mobility, that their children go to university if they didn't. And so to try and raise awareness of an apprenticeship is really important. That's why you know, personally, I try and go out as a member of my business, as does many of my team, to all of the careers fairs that we possibly can in our locality, so that at least in our local area there is an understanding of what apprenticeships are. We volunteer to go and assist the Careers and Enterprise Company, who do a great job in advising schools and giving careers advice. There are kind of local opportunities to volunteer with things like there's an Inspire Us program where you can sign up and go and give a guest speech. But I think it has to start with businesses talking to communities and to schools and to colleges, because if we don't tell the colleges that this is the kind of training that we need, these are the kinds of young people that we need, and we're willing to pay for them, then the schools and the colleges won't kind of take that forward. It's really difficult. It's not easy to get into a lot of these, but I'd say also go to your local enterprise partnership. So if you don't know what that is, have a Google, a LEP, local enterprise partnership. Each of them has usually a careers and enterprise coordinator attached to them in your locality. It might be, for us, it's Berkshire, might be Buckinghamshire, might be the East Midlands, whatever, and connect yourself with the careers and enterprise coordinator there. There's also the Creative Careers Service, which BFI and others are linked into, and that has amazing sort of resources that you can signpost people to and raise awareness with as well. Thank
you very much.
Can I come in on this one quickly as well? Because I think some of it is, I definitely think it's all the stuff around careers advice and guidance in schools and colleges. But I also think we have to work a lot harder at breaking down the stigma between what's seen as excellence historically in terms of academic pathways and actually what the benefits of vocational and technical education and apprenticeships could be. So for example, and I think there is a shift actually. So we did a parent survey last year, and unsurprisingly, the majority of parents wanted their kids to be happy, but actually their biggest concern was around employment and employability, and their real worry about that. So I think linking kind of vocational and apprenticeships to this discussion, I think, is really important. The other thing that I think is interesting is that young people themselves are making different choices. So the idea that we would go into a career for life is no longer the case, and it is about portfolio, transferable skills. So again, one of the things about an apprenticeship program is it gives you those life skills and those work skills, but it also and actually gets you into the world of work potentially a lot earlier, and you end up with a kind of degree at the end in many instances on the higher level ones. So I think some of this is about, you know, how we position apprenticeships and technical education more broadly in society, but I also think that there's some choices being made from parents and from learners and young people themselves that are looking for these opportunities. So I think that I just wanted to kind of jump in on that.